back. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.
Well, there's a song from one of the musicals that's playing this summer down at Malkin Bowl, a theater under the stars. It's from the soundtrack of Oliver, and it's food, fabulous food. Please, may I have some more?
Yeah.
It's Boomer Life here on CIL 650. I'm Sterling Fox. In studio with me, Dr. Paul Zickler, the medical director at YesWellness.com, and Patty Smythe, registered holistic nutritionist and the newest member of the YesWellness.com team. And Patty, you were telling us before the break about the sort of activities you have. Now, Dr. Paul, for example, you talked about one of your greatest frustrations as an MD was advising a patient that in addition to filling a prescription and doing the blood work and all of that stuff, look, you're a little heavy. You could really do to drop 15, 20 pounds. Life would be a whole lot better. And the patient goes, yeah, sure, great, doc. There, can I have my prescription now? Got to go. And that's the end of that. Well, I don't think a lot of people that get that, even that small snippet of good advice, realize how easily and readily help can be available. And Patty, that's where you come in. So do you get referrals from doctors? Do people call you up and say, my doctor says I have to lose weight. You seem like a good kind of person to help. Can you?
I do get those phone calls.
Okay.
Not very often directly from a doctor. For example, I will get some referrals from naturopathic doctors and a few medical doctors. But a lot of people, yes, they will seek out my services and other nutrition support,
right,
because they know they need to make a change,
yes,
and they really just don't know where to start. Or they may have received a pamphlet from their medical professional and or healthcare practitioner, and they just don't know what to do with it. It's the implementation and the support quite often that people need, because there is so much information out there.
And a lot of it is conflicting. If you don't mind my saying so, you can walk down the aisle of a bookstore in the medical section, and you can see 18 different opinions about every disease under the sun, and no two of them are the same.
That's right.
So how are we, the consumers, supposed to sort through all of that?
Mm-hmm. And so hopefully your nutrition support or your medical team, your healthcare team that you're building around you will help you sort of weed through that and find what's right for you, your family situation, your demographic, those sorts of things, and your budget.
Right.
That's an important thing also.
And I suppose, too, Dr. Paul, when a person has an appointment with his or her physician and the news is not good, for example, you have diabetes. You're going to have to affect some rather significant life changes here, including dietary ones, and that's got to start now. So, and this is where you would say perhaps contacting a nutritionist would be a really good idea.
Well, probably, hopefully it would be even earlier than that. It would be at the time when perhaps he's in a situation where he's gaining some more weight,
right,
or he's under a lot of stress and he doesn't have a lot of energy and his life is sort of really complicated and he's not eating properly, and it's part of a whole change in his sort of well-being,
right,
that we're trying to get him on the right track before he actually gets the diabetes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of resources out there for people that have diabetes, for example,
right,
in terms of diabetic clinics, but we want to get them one step earlier to prevent him from getting diabetes,
right,
and that's what's really important. So, Patty, does a person that wants to get some nutrition advice, do you need a referral from somebody, or can I just pick up a phone and phone you?
You can pick up the phone and phone. You don't need a referral at all. And a lot of people, to speak to your point that you just mentioned about way before the diabetes diagnosis,
right,
that is quite often when people will make the change. It is quite often, there's generally tipping points that I find in my practice. One of them is some of the numbers on after a physical. The doctor said, you know what, you're heading down a path.
Right.
We need to turn you off this path now. Now's the time to make the change. So that will quite often constitute people seeking some support and some help at that time. So that's a really great place for me to step in, and it's early in the game and you feel better. The other place where people will seek out help quite often is there's not really an eloquent way of saying it, but they're sick and tired of feeling sick and tired.
Yes. Yeah.
And just that constant, couple pounds a year that's now 25 extra. Nothing fits. I'm mood is low, those sorts of things, and just a general feeling of unwell.
Right.
And hitting that point of I need to change this now.
Right. And it's interesting, going back to Dr. Paul's ratio, 80% of getting better is going to be dietary, isn't it?
Definitely, yes.
It's incredible.
Yes.
I mean, really, especially if you've been packing on the pounds and this and that and the other thing, and exercise is going to be a part of it. But I think it's almost scary to some when you need to lose 15 or 20 pounds. You go, oh my gosh, how am I gonna pull that one off? I'm getting on here. I don't know that I can start running 12 miles a day and so the start, Dr. Paul, isn't necessarily the walking, it's about changing your dietary habits first. The rest will follow.
Absolutely, and you can work on them together. But I mean, for a lot of people, trying to face one situation, one problem, or one condition, if we're trying to look, if you look at the big picture, I can't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I can take it in segments, and the thing is, and Patty will probably confer with that, if you make some first initial steps, and you see, my gosh, I really do feel a little bit better.
Right.
I do have a little more energy. I'm not falling asleep all the time. And I feel better, and my mood is better. I feel better about myself. Just those little increments of realizing those benefits just promote all the rest. Because then all of a sudden, gee, this is really making me feel better. And if you're attuned to that, then you just can't stop the progress, because people will, once they felt it, want to keep feeling it.
Well, I suppose that's true. You were talking about tipping points earlier, Patty, and there's a positive one in one's changing of lifestyle and diet and all the rest of it. You do, as Dr. Zikler explains, you do hit a point where all of a sudden it does begin to make sense, and there's a little more spring in your step. You don't have to be bouncing up and down the staircase or anything, but you can feel just a little more lightness of being, and that's the tipping point. You've come around the corner.
Definitely, and it just really helps that pendulum start swinging in that new direction. And I like to call it a new normal. This isn't a diet. This isn't something that you temporarily do to lose 10 or 15 pounds.
Right.
This is your new normal of a quality, well life, so you can thrive. And especially if you have children, having them be a part of this transition, so that as much of their life is about quality and wellness, and it definitely starts that swing.
I like that new normal.
Well, I do too. I wrote it down.
Because it really encompasses of all of what we're trying to achieve.
I wrote it down because I liked it a lot, and I've got two that I've written down here. One from you earlier, Dr. Paul. Yeah. Sitting is the new smoking. I had not heard that before, and when you think about it, and you don't have to spend much time, it suddenly makes a great deal of sense. And then Patty wants us to strive to develop a new normal. That's a nice way of saying a positive life change, isn't it?
It's just not thinking of these changes to your diet or to your exercise regime, or preferably both, as a temporary, as just a bridge to get your doctor off your case.
Right.
This is your new normal, and we just stay and thrive in this element.
Can we get a hold of you at yeswellness.com? Is that because you're already saying, people you don't have to see a doctor. You can just call me up or send me an email. Is yeswellness.com a good place to start?
You can find my contact information on Yes Wellness, and I also have a website, pattysmythenutrition.com.
Oh, okay,
Very
great.
easy.
And of course, Dr. Paul, you and all of your colleagues are available at yeswellness.com.
You bet.
Love the blogs. Keep them up.
Good.
All right, we're fresh out of time. Regrettably, Patty, will you promise to come back and see us again?
I'd love to.
I'd love to have you back, because we've just opened a door here, and this could be fun. Dr. Paul, thank you so much.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
This is Boomer Life, and we'll see you next time right here on CIL 650.